Hello, everyone. I don't know if you're going to pay attention to this because what's going on in the Middle East and Ukraine and Russia, but this is very important. This is about Daryl Guberman's 14-year national security warning, how ANSI ANAB, the IAF, and ILAC are compromising America. Subject: global accreditation systems endanger U.S. business and national security. For all of those members who are ANSI ANAB accredited, have at it. I remember out there 2011 when I started my business, and many of you said, Daryl, you got to pay to play. Now you're paying, and they're playing and paying over in the Middle East. And here we go. My name is Daryl Guberman, and for the past 14 years, I'm a quality expert, aerospace, medical implants, materials, etc. 14 years I've been warning America about something dangerous, something that most people don't even realize is happening. It's about foreign governments, unregulated organizations, and even some U.S. agencies are quietly allowing hostile nations like Iran, yes, Iran, and China to influence our quality, safety, and defense systems through a system most Americans have never even heard of. Global accreditation. Most of you don't even give a shit. But you see those little tiny tags on the potato chip bags, GMP, this, that, the other thing. Have at it. One company, two names. ANSI took over ANAB in 2018. In 2018, the American National Standards Institute took over the American National Crediting Board. Now they operate as one organization, even though most people still think they are separate. This merger created an organization with unlimited influence and no accountability, giving ANSI ANAB near total control over what is certified as safe or high quality in American factories, labs, defense sectors, and hospitals. ANSI ANAB founded the IAF, and Iran, yes, Iran, is a member and equivalent in accreditation to ANSI ANAB. Can you imagine that? ANSI and ANAB helped found the International Accreditation Forum, which controls global certification practices. And guess who else is a member of the IAF? Iran. Their sister organization, ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, is in Australia. They are associations of accreditation bodies, national and international, and they are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI ANAB. ANSI ANAB are underwriters for both those organizations, the IAF and ILAC, which means they take full legal responsibility for both systematic and product failure. Iran, a nation hostile to the United States, a nation the U.S. government officially labels a state sponsor of terrorism. Why are we trusting the same network that includes Iran to approve American manufacturers and labs? It gets worse. The Chinese Communist Party has access to our data. The IAF is heavily influenced by China through an organization called the China National Accreditation Services. In fact, in 2015 to 21, the IAF, incorporated in Delaware, was handed over to a communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, who at the time was also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services out of Beijing. He was standing in the Wuhan laboratory, the ill-prepared Wuhan laboratory, in 2017, 6 months prior to the certification. Scientists at the Wuhan lab said, we don't have enough highly trained technicians. 6 months after they were certified, an American contingency came in there, and they were saying the same thing. We don't have enough trained technicians. For the trained technicians are the first line of defense to keep COVID inside the facility. The IAF is also heavily influenced with China through an organization called the China National Accreditation Services for Conformity Assessment. Even more dangerous, a Chinese communist national had served on the IAF between 2015 to 2021. He's been involved with our quality since 1994, deeply involved with oversight of American quality systems. Under China's National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, that individual is legally required to report any information they gather, including U.S. industrial, corporate, and defense data, directly to the Chinese Communist Party. This is not a theory. This is a legal obligation under China law. U.S. government agencies are involved as well, and it's a conflict of interest. Many federal agencies trust ANSI ANAB to oversee certification, but they're not just clients. They're also paying members, customers, and even board participants, such as the Department of Homeland Security has a representative on ANSI making $262,000 plus their federal salary. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is part of the Department of Commerce, also has an ANSI board member representing NIST and the Department of Commerce, who makes 120 grand plus his federal salary. Agencies like the DOJ, the FDA, Department of Commerce, Department of Homeland Security, not only are members of ANSI ANAB, but they are customers as well, creating a loop of money, power, and no oversight. This means government officials are overseeing and purchasing services from the same organization while also serving on its board. Laws that may be violated. The situation is not just dangerous, it may be illegal, including the violations of 18 U.S. Code 208 conflict of interest. Federal employees can't make decisions about organizations where they have financial interest. Isn't that nice? 18 U.S. Code 2381, treason. If a U.S. official allow hostile foreign nations to influence defense and national security, it could rise to the level of treason. Federal Acquisition Regulation, FAR. Government contracts must be free of foreign interference. ANSI ANAB's ties to Iran, China, Pakistan, and even Russia may violate these procurement rules. Easy to understand examples. Let's break this down now, ladies and gentlemen. Example 1. A U.S. defense contractor making fighter jet parts gets certified by a body under ANSI ANAB. But ANSI ANAB is part of the IAF. They're the founders of the IAF. And they are also legal representatives of them because they are underwriters, which means they take full legal responsibility for both systematic and product failure. And Iran is in the IAF too. So Iran is indirectly tied to the approval of American weapons. Example 2. A government lab is accredited under a system shaped by IAF and the China National Accreditation Services. The data the lab generates could be exposed to Chinese intelligence because of Article number 7. Example number 3. A U.S. agency buys services from ANSI ANAB, and one of its own employees sits on ANSI's board. That's a clear conflict of interest, like being both the referee and a player in the game. My final message. My name is Daryl Guberman, and for 14 years, I have been sounding this alarm. I've released videos, written letters, filed public warnings, and spoken directly to business owners and government officials. I do this not because I want attention, but because I love this country and I believe in American sovereignty, which we don't have. We must hold ANSI ANAB accountable. We must remove Iran and China's influence from U.S. certification systems. We must investigate every federal contract connected to these groups and federal officials as well, because we've got all of their names on file. We have them all. And above all, we must bring our standards, our testing, and our national integrity back under U.S. control. This is not politics. This is national survival. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The last thing I'm going to say. In 2009, Lockheed Martin gets hacked by China, taking the F-35. In 2012, a division of United Technologies, Sikorsky Aircraft, gets hacked by China, taking all kinds of things, data, Black Hawk, T-700 engine, etc. In 2015, Lockheed Martin goes to purchase Sikorsky Aircraft for $9 billion. Look, they got their information taken. Sikorsky got their information taken. Yet Lockheed spends a big money for what? And then in the Connecticut Mirror, it stated, with China's okay, Lockheed Martin closes in on the purchase of Sikorsky Aircraft. And the worst of all is you have Richard Blumenthal, Rosa DeLauro, and Chris Murphy, who thinks he's going to run for president maybe next time. From what we hear, rumor has it, he's not worth it. None of them are. But those three, it says, Connecticut lawmakers praise Lockheed Martin for making its last international hurdle. What they truly said was this, in essence, Connecticut lawmakers, Rosa DeLauro, Richard Blumenthal, and Chris Murphy all praise Lockheed Martin for working with communist China. My number is 203-556-1493, and I've been warning for 14 years about this mess going on in the Middle East. I would like to see the missiles that Iran is shooting, and also Israel. Israel's already got ANAB stamped on the freaking missile. I am sure that somewhere along the line, those missiles coming in from Iran are also accredited by someone that is either equivalent to ANSI ANAB or ANSI ANAB themselves. Thank you very much. My number is 203-556-1493, and I appreciate and I hope you call because we have the data. Unbelievable.